Welcome to the Bear Collective podcast, where we talk about all things relationships and self-connection. We empower you to take what you need and leave what you don't. Thank you for listening, watching, and subscribing.
Let's get into it.
Yes. And you had an idea today.
I did. I'm full of ideas.
Always. What do you call them? Christmas lights? And they go off 24/7, people. They don't stop. I don't know why she calls them Christmas lights. They're never off.
You know, when you have a Christmas tree, and I mean, how appropriate we're coming into Christmas time, but
Yes.
when you put the lights on the tree, they have a setting and you can change the settings to have like different patterns or different themes.
Yes.
So, like, not all the lights are going off at once or they're not just staying still.
Yeah.
And it is also so, I remember actually having this conversation with my neighbor during 2020 when we were out on like long walks and things like that. Um, when we were confined to our homes that time of the year. And we were talking about the difference between men and women and their thinking styles and how men come home, and this is very generalized, but also relatable. Men come home and they have around like 6 boxes on the shelf. So they come home, they might take one box off the shelf, which is to ask, the wife or the partner how they are. Once they've done that, they put that box back on the shelf. Then they might give some attention to the kids. They take that box off the shelf, acknowledge them, then put that box on the shelf. Then they've got a box for their sports, they've got a box for their work, etc. So they tick boxes
It's
and they think,
compartmentalized. Is that right? Is that the word we're looking for?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas women, we are the coach, we are the therapist, we are the chauffeur, we're the doctor, we're the nurse, we're the problem solver, we're the chef, all these things are ticking all the time, all at once.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's just like Christmas lights going off. We're always thinking about all the different things, how we can take care of, nourish, nurture, achieve all those kinds of things. So
Yeah,
that's where it comes from.
yeah. Your brain
The
literally
analogy.
personifies that.
But what I wanted to talk about was, and I think would be interesting for the audience to hear, is kind of within the field, we're both in the same field, we just have a different title. You're a therapist, I'm a coach. We help people. And it's kind of taking people behind the scenes, behind those doors. Like, what is that intention that a lot of people seek out our services for? And one of the biggest things that we are bringing into that space is a conversation around self-awareness.
Yes, yes.
And I think it's misunderstood and maybe generalized that people have self-awareness simply because they're considered an adult.
Yeah.
Or they've moved out of home, or they're in the working world, or they're above the age of 18 or 21, whatever it is for your country.
Yeah,
Does that makes them self-aware?
Yeah, more of an assumed skill that people have versus one that they need to hone in on and develop within themselves. Yeah, yeah. And I think this really came up for me recently. People will often come in and say, I really want to come to therapy to get the skills, or I went to a therapist before and I didn't get the skills. But then I immediately sit there and my belief is, well, when you're sitting in a chair and you're talking something over with someone, yes, it's not the be all and end all. You do need other skills, but you are developing a skill of self-awareness.
My question would be, are they? Because if you're in a space of venting or just downloading, which you need that, whichever space you come into, if you're meeting a coach or a therapist for the first time, can I just make clear that the first 2 to 3 sessions, you've come in with a problem and we are trying to get an established lay of the land. Like, what is that problem for you? What's happening? But also the context of timelines and anything else any other dynamics that we may need to know or get context on so that we can start to sort through and dissolve, resolve, heal that problem or evolve that for you.
Yes. And I see it as you as the therapist, if they do come in and they're really venting or emotionally dumping or whatever you call it, if you are role modeling to them how to self-inquire compassionately by asking those questions about like a timeline and a history and dynamics, it's on them whether they notice that and pick it up or not. Someone who's not very self-aware probably won't in that first initial. And that's when later down the track you might give them journal prompts and things like that to really hone in on it deeper. But I think it's assumed, like you said, that everyone has it. And it's like, where do we start developing that? And in the therapy room, to me, is one of the main places we can, if we need support with that, and we're a little bit what we can call blended, which is like where this is like an internal family systems term, which I would use intermittently, but we are in the emotion or the experience. We're not able to observe it.
Correct.
But maybe go into like what self-awareness is.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's where kind of like common sense is not common, and everyone's version of common sense is different.
Yeah.
You have layers to self-awareness. And in that state, when you are, purging, you're offloading, you're venting, it is not a very self-aware state. It is a needing to get the discomfort out of my body with this experience that I'm feeling. I need to get it out. I can't hold it myself. And that's where you come into that kind of container with somebody to help you resolve that. The process of self-awareness is being able to develop the skill that you can, in the present moment, see what is going on for you. You can experience and understand your emotional reaction, how you're internalizing something, the thought processes that you're having, whether a pattern is playing out for you, what your trigger is, what your reactive response is. Very aware in the moment as it's happening, and being able then to clock these things about yourself and make conscious choice in that present moment to change the next step so that you're not repeating the same pattern. So self-awareness is about developing an understanding of yourself, where you're at in that very present moment that you're experiencing something.
Yeah.
And that is a lifelong thing, can I just say, because, just in, a topic that we've talked about quite a bit throughout the podcast is your journey of pregnancy. That requires a new level of self-awareness about yourself. New experiences, new situations, new jobs can bring out different triggers or the same triggers. And it's that, same devil, new level.
Yeah.
That you need to just bring more awareness to, and that, again, just change the pattern at that level.
And you will flow in and out of that awareness. I think that's important to note. Like it will, I notice within myself, like there are days where I'm so on and I can just, I'm with it. I can see like the physical sensations as they're coming up. I can pause, to notice everything that's going on internally before I choose to act a certain way. But then there will be those days. I might even watch myself snap. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's like, who are you when you're hungry, angry, tired, or lonely? Who do you become?
As needy as your unmet needs.
Yeah. And I think you actually just mentioned a really good word there, which was the word pause.
Yes.
I think in any given moment, a good level of self-awareness and being able to self-reflect in a moment where there's an experience happening, typically when it's a conflict, because that's what most people kind of come into the therapy room for, or a container for, is that they are triggered by something. It is being able to have that moment of pause and to actually see reality for what it is, because our emotional trigger, our emotional response will take us into irrational places. And sometimes those feel so valid because of past experience.
Yeah.
If we don't heal and resolve those, though, we're just going to keep experiencing the same thing, which is the definition of insanity, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And like something I'd like to add there, like, it can take us into this really irrational version of reality. It can also take us into complete dissociation, whereby like we are completely checked out from what is happening
Yeah. And just to clarify, dissociation, it's literally just that kind of like a shutting down response.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can feel that within your body. If you notice when you're in an environment where you feel really unsafe or uncomfortable, you can feel like your body language just closes or your body starts to tense up and just kind of shut down.
Yeah.
You want to run.
You just want to get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very protective in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess something I've noticed you do quite a bit is, you've obviously worked on self-awareness. That's a given. You name when you are aware of something and want to do it anyway. And I think that's a really lovely, compassionate, humanistic piece of self-awareness, because it's kind of like, okay, I want to be an absolute like bitch in this moment. I'm just going to name it and do it. I'm aware that it's there. I'm self-aware that I want to do it. I'm also self-aware that I'm okay that I want to do it. Might not make it okay, but it's just naming that out loud.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really important piece of self-awareness.
Correct. And I think this is totally a topic for another podcast, because we could dive into this one and the reason I say that is because also we can acknowledge a part of us that we want to play out. So this is shadow work, something that I do a lot and is it's the best thing that's ever happened in my life and the experience of my
agree to that.
and the clients that I've coached and work with. But shadow work essentially is the parts of us that we deny, disown, discard, and reject. They're the parts that we can feel shameful of or that aren't acceptable by people or society or even ourselves in certain ways. It might be like anger, or it might be revenge, or being a bitch.
Yeah.
That we might feel really uncomfortable with expressing that part. But the more we deny, disown, and try and reject those parts of ourselves, they will come out to play in our behavior in unconscious ways. So part of the modality that I coach with is to bring love, like light, to those parts, and not love and light, like, yeah, that's a whole other thing, but to acknowledge them and to bring them into balance.
Yeah. And bring awareness to them.
Bringing awareness to them.
Because they're a lot of our blind spots, right? So
Correct.
they're those parts of us that we hide away to not see them.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this really wide spectrum of self-awareness will bring in these expressions of who we are.
Yeah. And we'll definitely talk to it on another podcast, I think, because because I acknowledge, for example, that I'm angry or want to play out angry, it doesn't make it okay to do so. There are safe ways to express that. The same with experiences of revenge. If you're having those emotions, which is one that is so typically common in, for example, a relationship or a toxic dynamic, that you want to feel that expression if you've been hurt or betrayed, but it doesn't necessarily make it okay to play it out. But there are ways to express it.
Yes.
That are healthy.
Yeah. So being aware of something or self-aware of something doesn't make it okay to do it anyway.
Yeah.
What it does do is gives you a choice to express it healthfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think self-awareness too, just to add and kind of tie it all up, self-awareness allows you to decide who you're going to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you are really doing. It's self-awareness is not about, oh, I can see that I do people-pleasing behaviors here. Cool. I'm a people pleaser. Like, is that the identity that you want to carry? Is that who you want to be? Is that your best version of yourself? Is that your most evolved version of who you are?
Yeah.
Is that helping you lead to success or the achievement or the fulfillment that you want in life? Is it productive? Or is it unproductive? Is it healthy? Is it not healthy?
Yeah.
Like, you get to decide that. And that's the power of when you can really see yourself clearly. It's making that powerful choice of, who am I going to choose to be in that moment?
Such an important piece of why self-awareness is such a crucial skill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we good?
I think we're good. Like, I think it's a lovely summary of self-awareness.
Yeah. It's the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself.
Mm.
People are going and looking for quick fixes in other places in trying to get a temporary or band-aid type of solution
Or skill.
or skill. The core is to be self-aware in each moment.
Mm.
And it's not just in conflicting moments too, actually, I should say.
Yeah.
It's in your everyday moments when you're actually just taking that time to be like, hey, where do I want to go? It's partly goal setting, being a part of your future and your vision. Like if you are somebody who, for example, is overweight or is unhappy with your health of your body, your diet, the way you're eating, the way you're taking care of yourself, your self-care routine, and it's like, I want to be better. That is the journey of being self-aware in the moment to become her.
Yeah, to
To
step into that
become that
person.
person. Correct. That's how change happens. It is all the core through self-awareness. The more self-aware you can be, the more you're going to experience the pleasures of life, the success of life, the stepping into who you want to be, the confidence, the self-worth, all those beautiful gifts.
It's really the foundational pillar that feeds into everything else.
Correct.
And it might be as simple as being aware of your breath in any given moment. I think that's always a lovely place to start for people who really struggle with self-awareness or are really shut off from their bodies. Because how can you really implement any other skill if you're not self-aware enough to know that you need one?
Yeah. If you're really dysregulated in the moment, there's going to be no other skill if you can't regulate yourself.
Yeah.
If you can't come from a grounded place.
Yes. Absolutely. And when we're dysregulated, sorry, like our brain isn't really doing that thing where it finds solutions. So
no, it finds irrational, delusional,
unconscious.
Yes. Shadows.
Shadows. They're everywhere, peeps. They're everywhere.
All right. Well, that is today's little conversation on self-awareness. We hope that you got the most out of that. Thank you for listening, watching, viewing, and subscribing. If you aren't subscribed, hit those buttons, whether you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube, click down below. And we would love to hear from you. See you next time.
See you next time.